All right, we're on the air. This is Michael J. Russ. I'm the author of Zero Adversity and the founder of the Zero Adversity Method and Zero Adversity Training, which teaches the method. Got something brand new for you. It's called Beyond the 3D. Beyond the 3D. Now, what is that? That's what this show's about today, is Beyond the 3D. It's about rising above the level of the 3D, which is where we mostly spend our time. That's the level of drama, worry, fear, concern, all those negative feelings, hopelessness, depression, light depression. It's the anxiety and the stress, the distress that we put ourselves in. It's the self-generated adversity that we then experience physical effects of. That's the 3D world. And this show is about rising above that, rising to a level where you're seeing it, you're overseeing it, you're perceiving the things differently, you're responding in different ways, and you're then letting that stuff go. And you're upping your quality of life as a result. My co-host for this venture is Glenn Brooks. Now, Glenn Brooks is the founder of Soul to Soul. That's S-O-U-L to S-O-U-L matchmaking. Really fabulous concept. He's also the founder of Unscripted Power. And I'll let him describe what that is because it's absolutely awesome at unscriptedpower.com. Aside from that, he's a relational expert. He's a guy who walks his talk, basically. And he's a man who put the C in coaching, life coaching. 30 years now he's been a life coach, and he does it in a completely different manner than what you experienced in the past. Glenn, welcome. How are you?
Oh, thank you. I was just sitting here because I had one of those magical moments today. I spoke to this woman that teaches Zumba.
Mm-hmm.
And she just had such exuberance about it, just so it's contagious. She said to me, she goes, wow, she goes, sweating is just miraculous, and it really is.
So that's a lot of really cool dance moves, right? A lot of freedom, a lot of movement.
I thought about actually having a Zumba party. They call them Zumba parties, by the way.
Right, because it's partying and dancing.
Yeah. I thought I should get together. Like I should have her bring a whole bunch of Zumba teachers, and we should do a little.
Have a Zumba party.
Well, it's really. I had a realization today. I've been in tennis. I've been hitting on my backhand side, which is I just flow more on my backhand, and I just thought, I'm going to set up opportunities, right, where I just want to hit my forehand. And I was just thinking, like sometimes what we do is we kind of stay in one place because we know it, or it's predictable.
Right.
And
pattern.
Yeah, pattern. And so I was just like, wow, I just want to. And then I called about this other class, which is I think it's called Muay Thai, and it's kind of a fighting art from the feet.
Okay.
And it's interesting because when people get scared, they shoot up in their head, and the Muay Thai teaches you really about the power and wonder of it. The ground through the feet and to move through the legs. We have tremendous power in the center of our bodies.
True. Yeah. Core.
Yeah, the core, and then that spiraling movement. We can kind of. And so I was just kind of thinking, I should go up and. I think what I was thinking. I was tuning into today. Just this idea of energizing and going into places that we don't want to go.
True.
To do it in a relational environment.
Yeah. Well, you're really relational. I think being relational kind of does help you rise above the 3D. I mean, for me, on a daily basis, I enjoy interacting with people, and a lot of people interact with people with facts, and a lot of the cordialities that people espouse on a daily basis aren't really sincere. I learned long ago to look someone in the eye and say, hello, how are you? Thank you. Really appreciate what you do. Because you know what? We are becoming a service-oriented society. That's people serving other people. And wow, it's amazing how people just take other people for granted. And these are feeling human beings who have a soul. And, making someone's day isn't a stretch, right? You do it all the time. I do it all the time. And just speak about that concept, because the concept of being relational versus being a facts-oriented, pattern-oriented insincere-oriented kind of exchange is pretty amazing, and life affirming, right?
Yeah, it's like entering a new world with the person. It's really stepping into their world for a moment and making them significant, listening. I call it listening to the listening, like listening to what they're not saying. Hey, funniest headline of the day. I just got to share it. Funniest headline of the day. All right, you remember Miracle on 34th Street?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. I was always, I was conditioned to pay attention more to Hanukkah. Okay. Right. All right. So sure enough, today, talking about being related, this caught my humor. There was a guy, I think he got to the 21st floor on the Trump building.
Right. I saw that.
Mm-hmm. With sucker cups he got from the hardware store.
Exactly.
And sure enough, they took him off to Bellevue. Bellevue's branded in New York as this place. And you do something wacky, you go to Bellevue.
Crazy people go and get checked out.
Examined, right?
Well, did you see his video ahead of time?
No, I didn't see. I didn't see anything. I just
was a little dark. It was.
Oh, really?
Dark.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah, he seemed to be a little bit off in terms of the way he was pitching why he was climbing the tower. Yeah. And I could see how someone would raise a level of discomfort in anyone if that's the way, if someone wanted to meet you and they were talking like that.
Oh, you know what I missed? I just heard the part that was.
Yeah.
I heard the snapshot.
They're just delivered in a very dark way. Nowadays, if you deliver in a dark way, people are going to look at you and go, wait a minute, it's a little bit off here. I think we better put this guy away for a little bit and kind of, especially in light of the tragedies we've had around the country where mental health in some way was involved or something else. At any rate, rising above the 3D is something that is not only liberating, but it gives you a different way of seeing things. And really what this is about, moving beyond our comfort levels and pattern responses to the things that happen, the unfortunate circumstances and challenges that we face on a daily basis, instead of going out and wholesale patterning, doing this rote default move of getting angry, resentment, and bitter about the whole thing and being frustrated and worried or even fearful about something. It's about taking a step back, taking a breath, because I know you're always saying you reset your central nervous system by breathing, right?
What respiration is really, breathing is life, and being relational is sharing that breath. In Hawaiian, they call it the ohana.
Ohana.
Family,
baby.
Together.
Right.
So, yeah, respiration. It's funny. I just called this woman in New York, Linda Cloud, who's going to be on my television show. Mm-hmm. I want to do an hour. Oh, here's the thing. When someone discovers breathing, the greatest person that I interacted with, a lot of great people come over. There's you and there's a whole bunch of others. But I would say like 10 years ago, I had the honor of doing many shows with Dr. Batman Jolie. And this guy wrote a book called Your Body's Desperate Cries for Water.
Love that guy. I've read the book.
Oh, what an amazing guy.
Yeah, I think that guy, and it's a shame he's not with us any longer, but however, his book opened my eyes to some very central points about water. Yeah. And especially since the time I read it, I was having lower back issues, and I understood that, the discs rely heavily on water. So dehydration, right? Chronic dehydration, in his view, was one of the major reasons that people were having lower back issues, because their discs didn't have, they were drying out. Body didn't have enough water.
He was such a caring person, very, very generous.
Yeah.
His message was so simple. So breathing, and exhaling, and it's so powerful. I'm realizing when I work with speakers that it's a beautiful thing to feel like they actually catch rhythmic respiration.
Right.
And in the day, this is a big thing, like stopping to breathe with somebody for a moment, taking a breather together.
Wow, that's deep though. That's deep.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of people, when people get stressed out, which most people are throughout the day, breathing gets shallow, right?
Well, what's really interesting about this is that hyperventilation, which is an overbreathing, is a cure for subventilation. And so what's really fascinating is your breath, your diaphragm goes all the way back here, and it all here, here.
Mhm.
And what happens is when you breathe this, when you breathe it's like getting a massage. So it's this beautiful, intimate thing. And then see people that inspire together, they have this other, like they get tapped in together. So being relational is really, it's an ongoing art. Again, I was just thinking today, I want to do groups, solo groups, matchmaking, like where people hike together. I'm going to do consultations, then I'm going to introduce people.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, it's an activity. It's an activity they can participate in together, and they can take it beyond that to a soul connection and see see what's up there.
Yeah.
I think, listen, you got some great ideas about relationships. We've had lots of conversations in the past.
But I'm not an expert.
No.
I'm a beginner.
I think, listen, I think we're all beginners. We're all learning on this journey of life about relationships. I'm on, after 2 marriages and being with my girlfriend now for almost.
I believe I was just married once.
Pardon?
I said I was just married once.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're speaking of your marriages.
I was married twice.
Yeah.
And I look back on them, and as with anything, I've learned, and I know a lot of change. People think, oh, the other person has to change.
All right. What's the number? You see it?
No. Oh, 3.
Yeah, 3. Yeah. I wrote down you were married 3 times to show you that I have these unusual psychic abilities. So I was very close. I was very close.
We'll see about that.
Yeah.
I think what I'm working on right now is being more relational, intimate, passionate. I'm actually stoking the fires of intimacy, and on a moment to moment basis with my current significant other. And I'll tell you, this is interesting. And I'm going to say flat out, I'm going to admit that I haven't always seen things that way. I just
want to say I have a business card that you gave me, and it said current significant other, and it just says a question mark.
Yeah.
I just want to say I have that from you, and it says more intimacy and connection is a priority now, Michael J. Russ. Make it yours.
You know what? It's I'm having a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun rising above it. There's a lot of drama that occurs in relationship, and this. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of resentment from things. There's little things that occur. I mean, we'll have a whole show probably 2 or 3 shows about relationship because it's such an important topic. But the issue is, though, when it comes to someone that you care about, that you're in love with, that you're passionate about and intimate with, you've got this whole diatribe that goes along throughout the day. There's little adversities, little things happen. I know people who try to control, their particular mate. I used to be kind of a person who knew how to control somebody else, and I kind of used that to my advantage. And I stopped doing that. I said, that's not right. I don't want to do that. I want to let this person be who they are, and I want to embrace that and nurture that and let them know that I appreciate that they don't agree with me or that they don't want to do what I'd like to do. And let's find something that we can do together. Or if we're okay with doing something apart, let's go ahead and do that as well. We don't want to destroy or dampen someone else's passions, right? They're the things that they care about. My girlfriend's into horses. I'm not. I love to ride, but I'm not riding like that, right? So she loves that, and I love golf. We love golf together. I like playing music. She doesn't play music. However, she doesn't not allow me to play music because it's not something that she does. So there are many, many nuances to relationship. Like I said, we've had these conversations, many of them in the past, and they've been really, really, sparked with a lot of nuance and information, and because we have some certain kinds of views. I'm a little more pragmatic, I guess, practical about some things. But I love a lot of your ideas when it comes to.
I want to say every idea that I have is it's got both ends. Because relationships aren't purely linear. So, basically, people exist in 2 states at any given moment. They exist in this vital song, or they exist in the counterfeit. So what happens is when 2 people discover this vital song together and they make it relevant, that's the beginning of this. That's the beginning of something that goes deeper and more alive. And so I actually say to people, don't get to know each other. Focus on recognition. Focus
Of
on
each other, right?
What's that?
Of each other, recognition of each other.
Well, recognition in the sense that, you know, I had my dear beloved, I call him Uncle Norm, Dr. Norm Shealy.
Mhm.
I've known Norm a long time, but he helped me during this period over the last probably 6.5 years.
Mhm.
And one of the things I learned, so I discovered this one day. I was biking, and I realized people getting to know each other gets in the way. Dating gets in the way. And I said to Norm spontaneously, I go, what do you make of those ideas, Norm? And he says, you know, Glenn, he goes, I never dated my whole life. He goes, I saw my wife walk by me in a dorm. She was dating someone else, and I knew she was my wife. And she looked at me, and we had this he goes, recognition is the key thing. So Norm is the world, as far as I know, the leading expert on pain and healing. And
Mhm.
it's a remarkable. He's a surgeon, mystic, life coach. We just came recently that he's been one of the original life coaches. We were joking today. He goes like, Glenn, I goes, what is a life coach? And I described it. He goes, I'm a life coach. I describe it based on my experience.
Yeah.
You know what is, Michael? It's the most significant thing in the universe. Like the things that I've burned through and I've discovered about relationalness, just moved me at the deepest levels. And so unscripted power is kind of when you go beyond your script, because real love occurs beyond your script, and you experience real love beyond the script.
Mhm.
So when I really dove deep, and how the whole thing came up about Soul to Soul was that was the next vision, and how I discovered it was a practical vision, something to embody. Was I met people
Mhm.
that would come to see me or whatever, and I realized that this quality of soul to soul relating, I could feel it from people. I could feel they craved it. And when I discussed it with them and I told them stories, that to me, it was them helping me unblock that vision. And I felt it. And then I had this incredible, some people will call it a dream. I call it a soul seeing. And that dream tipped me over. That really shifted me at a very core level. And I released probably like 60% of psychic pain that I was going through because I was coming out of a relational tsunami. And what I educate people about is that tsunamis, they block you and obstruct the energy
Mhm.
of, you could say, love.
Yeah.
You know,
Because tsunamis, those negative feelings and emotions that soup of negative feelings and emotions.
yeah, like when you're in a spin, when you're in a relational spin or tsunami,
Mhm.
things are so stirred up. It's like,
Right.
it's exaggerated. So, it's funny. So people say things like, I went crazy during that period. Like I've had people say all things to me, and I relate to it. It's like,
Right. And some people don't even remember going through it. They get
right.
into a situation where they just don't remember
Yes.
specifically what happened because their emotions are so
Well, they shut down.
intense.
They shut down usually, and
Right.
when we shut down, we stop breathing, and then we're numb.
Yeah.
So what happened was when I went through this other stage, well, two things happened. I realized how much I actually totally loved my wife. Like it was like the level of love I felt was so. It was like I saw my script. I mean, I started to see, and then I had all these awarenesses of when and we all have the script. We have the script about surviving, and we're in the script. It's like it's hard for us to see. I was at the tennis courts, and I was sharing with this guy how he could energize the experience of love with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, it was really funny.
You look at you strangely?
Well, no. What was interesting about it was the look of strangeness was he just couldn't believe that it was possible. And
how long had he been married?
Him?
How long? Do you know how long he'd been married?
20 years.
Okay, well that's why.
Yeah. Well, no. It was interesting, but I said to him, you see, I help people find coherence together.
Right.
So, but when I was with him, I realized I could do this with him, and I could also, if I want to stretch your mind here, I could actually proxy. I could actually do this for him during the day.
Right. Yeah.
So I want to say that, it's just so profound. I guess I realize like relational really. I mean, there's so much violence and unconsciousness around relationship because I think the problem with the self-help movement and the personal power movement puts all the energy on me. So the discovery of relational transformation in we is a totally different distinction that we've lived with the last 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
So now this thing they call it the integral model the integral model is the different quadrants or areas of our lives. So, for instance, we might have fitness in our health, we have food,
Right.
philosophy. So, relationalness is actually the weakest quadrant.
It's not something we practice. It's not something we focus on.
Right? No. And so it's like people talk. So, they're like, right now, if you're in a relationship, there's a place of wonder, and if you could allow yourself to go to that place and drop into it, you have another whole relationship. Like, what happens, a relationship really doesn't end. What happens is you start to see the person through a darkened place. You don't really see them anymore. See,
it's true. I think the longer people are in relationships, they have perceptions that become ingrained about that other person, to the point where if that person changes in some particular way, there's this threat or fear that comes up, because all of a sudden, after a period of time, you think you know somebody, and then all of a sudden they have their interests change. And it becomes disruptive to the one person who didn't expect that person would change. It's kind of like we're talking about Zumba. All of a sudden, somebody after 20 years, I'm going to take some Zumba. I've got a Zumba class tomorrow.
Well, here's the interesting thing. So the interesting thing is that the me-centered transformational movement, which we call the self-emergent movement, or the personal power movement.
Self-awareness,
yeah. So what happens is that there's a relational field and there's a relational brain. I had a great dialogue with Daniel Siegel about this.
Right.
So this is newer stuff, and I want to say what's kind of interesting. A lot of this stuff came to me at a very deep level, and I began to see it. And then I saw the science was changing. So it used to be that what they thought was what they called the damaged attachment was the end of the relationship. Now Sue Johnson, who they just about crucified this woman. And when she said, the
establishment
community, right. Yeah, the establishment. And
that.
She said it was actually love of her husband and their bond. But what she came up with, and this is my experience with people, is that you could actually form a new attachment, and this is huge. So, like, if you listen to people's language, just listen to what people say. They'll say these horrible things, and they're really horrible things, like I'm done with this person. If you listen to relational language or non-relational language, it's a language of burnout. It's a language of overwhelm. It's not a language of a recognition that at any moment a new love could deepen. So we have this cycle that, a degenerative model, and it's unconscious. It's unconscious. As a matter of fact, it's not unconscious. It's encouraged. So what encourages is that somehow division. See, I say in the beginning of my book, it says stop, pause, breathe, and listen again. Like, the direction you're going in is the direction of, these are people that are considering divorce, breakups, and separations. Mm-hmm. So what happens is we get into that, and people get around us, and so a lot of this, a lot of the stuff that really inspires me is kind of like, what would it be like if you lived your life beyond separation, breakups, and divorces? And I appreciate big time that most of the culture still lives as if there's not a relational field. There's not that in some ways, we've gotten way overemphasized the individualistic. So as an example, when most people say power, it's not power, it's force. Power is always relational. Mm-hmm. Force is not relational. Mm-hmm. So it takes a tremendous amount of force. And that's why, this
change.
What's that?
Force for change in order to move.
Yeah. I mean, I have these dialogues with this judge. She wrote a book called Karma-Free Divorce. And we really started the dialogue. Mm-hmm. It takes a tremendous amount of energy to use a vision in your life. So
true.
If you start to realize that this is the key thing. What's the poison is actually the cure. So when you perceive poison in a relationship, that's the beginning of a purification that can lead to your deepest love ever.
I think I very much agree with that. I think that it's a form of recognition as well. You're recognizing what the poison is. Yeah. From that standpoint, I agree with everything that you said, and it's very, very deep. And many people, I don't think, perceive it on that level. But I know one thing about emotions. Negative, when you feel intense negative emotions, you shut down to being receptive.
Yeah.
New ideas, to concepts. You really don't hear anything, which is why I teach in Zero Adversity to perceive something differently, you have to let the emotions pass before you start moving forward. Something happens, somebody does something, you have to let the emotions pass, because you're not, if you take action from an emotional base, you may not be taking action that you really want to be taking. And especially when it comes to a relationship situation, you may say something or do something, act in a way that is out of context with you, because you're feeling intense emotions. But you've got to step back, take a breath, and look at the situation, rise above it, and look at it from a different side, different angle. And in that way, you can respond successfully without the emotion. You have to put that aside, and then you can hear, then you can feel, then you can sense what needs to be, how you need to respond in that particular context. This is an amazing conversation, one that we're going to carry on. We're going to do a specific we'll do a specific show just talking about relationships and how to move forward in them. This is what above the Beyond the 3D is about. It's about, this is a conversation that Glenn and I have. We'll be having it, and we'll have it with the guests as well. It's an unscripted conversation, one that allows us to kind of expand and explore. And the fact that it is unscripted, if I could say that, take that from my man here, Glenn, there is no script. There's we have a certain topic, we pick it, and it's very conversational. And if you have any input or ideas about what we talk about, comments, you can email me you can send an email to enquiry@michaeljruss.com. That's enquiry@michaeljruss.com, and we'll be certain to bring it in. In the future, we're going to be having some live conferences, some webinars about these topics where you can have the opportunity to chime in live, and we can discuss that. And you can take your relationship to a new level. You can take your life to a new level. You can rise above all that negativity and drama that's going on around you that I know you're really, really tired of. Many people are so ingrained in it, that's the only way they know how to live, from scarcity, from fear, from worry and concern, and anger for what's going on in their life, and maybe feeling a little out of control, which is the state of distress. And from that, experiencing the stress, the physical signs of stress. So we're going to end this here. I want you to, Glenn, give your website, how somebody can reach you, because you've got some really cool stuff going on with regard to coaching. So that, what would it be?
Within days, we'll have up unscriptedpower.com. It's up, but it's just about one event. We'll have unscriptedpower.com. You can look at Vibrant Living Connections. That's been up for a while, Vibrant Living Connections. But Unscripted Power is coming, and
awesome.
Yeah, I coach people from a state of being.
Right.
And it's a beautiful place. And so people say things like, I've talked to you half an hour and I feel like I never had this kind of connection. And what it is we're in our being,
mm-hmm.
We're not rehearsing, we're not trying to anticipate. It's kind of like we feel like at home. So being at home is a beautiful thing.
It is.
And sometimes, I mean, it's funny, based on what you were saying, Michael,
mm-hmm.
I realized when I was going through the toughest cycle, I would remind myself and allow myself to be confused. So part of what gets us jammed up is we fight against emotions, and allowing emotions to move through us into our bodies is that's helpful. So allowing yourself to be confused during periods of temporary turbulence.
Mm-hmm. And recognizing that that's what it is, that you are confused, and that maybe you shouldn't be taking action at that point, but you should be stepping back, breathing, and reflecting.
Yeah, right. That's a part of the cycle.
Right.
Exactly. I think in our culture, we have a cycle that says more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
Rather than, okay, now's the time, we'll get the bends if we do more and more and more. Now's the time to allow nature to inform us. Now's the time to just listen.
Yeah.
And open up.
That's Beyond the 3D, folks. I appreciate it. Coach par excellence, Glenn Brooks. My name is Michael J. Russ. You can visit michaeljruss.com to learn more about what I do. And there's going to be more of this. There's going to be a video and a podcast so that we, in an ongoing conversation. Thanks so much for joining us.
You mentioned a buffet as well.
Yeah. This is a buffet of all kinds, a smorgasbord of all kinds of, because Beyond the 3D will cover a lot of different topics. That's what I love about it. It's not cubby holding us into something specific. We'll have some cool guests on and take these conversations in ways that we could never even imagine right now. Okay?
Okay.
Take care. enjoy. And as you like to say, Glenn,
Your life's precious. Enjoy it.
absolutely. I believe it. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye, my friend.